Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Tamale tandikira.
Gakati kampabulire. Ntono ya story eri mu mawulire. Omusajja yatta mukazi we. Naye
Onebi
tewali anyega. Where do you get that diary? When you check into that diary in Germany, somebody faked a diary nti yani ya Hitler. Bagenda chikabiranga teriyo. Who discovered this?
Yogera ku mwami ono wemuyenzi.
Yes. Kubaka tiyeba musibye.
Sajjo mugagga.
Sikiriza.
Yatta mukyala we namuteka mu septic tank.
And how? Ani yaguzudde. Ani yaguzudde.
Police.
And ngekuzuleta. From where? Who tipped them? Yali seba anti omukumi. Ate omukumi kankobole baye yamutta. Mu mateeka omuntu gwokoze naye omusango. Cannot asobola okubeera state witness nga Katereka bwe yakola okwaka Jubi. But unless there is somebody who collaborates, obujulizi tebukola. If these two people are fighting each other, ng'omukumi aganti gwe wamutta, how long has taken omukumi to reveal? Teriyayogera. Bulidde ssente bulidde kati oyo balina kye bamubanja.
Naye ndowooza ku musango ogwo Tamale. Bw'oba ogoberedde bulungi.
Gulibwa.
Omusango gw'omwami.
Yes.
Omwami yakomyawo omukumi ng'akimanyi poliisi emwetaaga teyamulipotinga.
Andi kankubuulire.
Eventually, police nechitegera nti
omukumi ali waka. How long?
Okunoonyereza kuyinza obutaba na boundary.
Yes, how long?
Tekuba na deadline.
And what happens? Kambabuli. Normally when a person kills a person and cannot like him, no mukumi ali muse. This is what he exposed Katulamu. Katulamu after killing Kijana Ngoma, the Mirindis saw this man in Fort Portal. Nabo yabatte makerere. Ne yali agenda kumutta the man fled to Kigali. Why didn't this man kill this man? And how long? Tewali ayogera tewali bamuli yakoze obwamawulire bwa naye nabatamwa n'obandi wabukidde obagwa tuvole banze njogera ku radio ntono nnyo amuganda gala yangu pakinene kakati kankubuulira nawulidde ebintu bimugera ku muhoozi ekisooka kya bonna mugenda kutakula olutalo olw'amangu. One, if I know that I'm not going to be part of your future plans, then I can help you. Abantu bwe banategeera nti Museveni is anointing Muhoozi but has denied it. Those who don't want Muhoozi will form another party. Okay, two, we have enemies, neighboring countries like Rwanda and other countries. Would they know and would they want an extension of Museveni automatically? Are you not exposing this younger man to assassinations? What about in the army? Two, this revolution took a very short time. Many of those people went, ngabali ba myaka 25 revolution ya myaka 25 bankaga batinye funza bani. Can't you get what happened in Zimbabwe? See, the generals are willing. Have you studied what happened in Egypt? Have you studied what happened in Libya? Do you look how it happened in Kenya? Uhuru Kenyatta came, na itao. Na ye, yagua. Ngabami ite extension ni wamu. When he came on his own, yakola ati. Ya itao. So all this, mwajiba chifuna project, waliwo na ina project, yankube nyoyo. Na ya ina project ye. Na ya ina project. Kakati the moment you think, timuli babiti. When two good dogs fight over a bone, a third one will take it.
Tamale kansoke mbuze. Is Muhoozi project real? Jerry.
Anti ye president yakugambye tisina kusobola guluminga mwana wange. Let him for votes. Yes. Muhoozi as a person has all rights. Do you deny me because I'm a wound? And two, Mumanga munna bagandi, Pakistan bagundi babuto, bani ba Bush bakomyewo bani, but the way you handle it is bambi yedibya mutere and very hard. Nawandika akatabo kanga kano ku Mbabazi from colonial prince to commoner. Akawandika akatabo kano ogambye nti amaso tegalaba kasome katali kirono from colonial prince to commoner obabuli ne dino nakawandika ndira kuandika mabega
wako
jikasemba from colonial prince to commoner
kyenda katonyeze munana katabo kano kawandikibwa olunaku lwa Sunday ngena kuzo mwezi 21 mwezi gwali gwa 7 2014 gwe mwaka okuva okutuuka kati ndoza waisewe emyaka nga 7 okuvuga wakawandika from crown prince to commoner. Those who will analyze Zimbabwe's downfall will agree with me on the following. Mbabazi celebrated victory too early and ignored the succession rules. Succession politics dictates that there is no more challenging period in life like graduating from a crown prince to a king. It is like the period between pregnancy and delivery. Many women lose their lives between this short period. History is full of examples. British Prince Charles has remained a crown prince for decades and is unlikely to become a king. Whereas in Spain, the king abdicated. The British Queen has refused to do so to pave way for Prince Charles. During the wrangles that forced out Margaret Thatcher as British Prime Minister, Sir Howe was the heir apparent, but the Thatcher preferred John Major, who did his O-level studies by correspondence and imposed a ban assessing his academic papers. The late King Hussein of Jordan, when he was found by American doctors with prostate cancer, he piloted his plane to Amman, sacked his long-time crown prince brother, and replaced him with his half-British son. The mother is Briton. Strong leaders are never succeeded by strong politicians, as a sub-heading. This is the second succession rule. Take for example, in Senegal, Senghor chose Diouf. However vibrant he had challenged this.
What the was, however vibrant what the word was, he came later.
Since 1971.
He had challenged Senghor from 1971.
In Malawi, Bakri Muluzi, who was unknown, succeeded Ngwazi,
the Lion.
Dr. Kamusu Banda. Chakufa
Chana,
who had fought Ngwanzi Kamuzu Banda, was rejected by the people. In Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda was succeeded by Frederick Choluba, who was perceived to be a Congolese citizen. In Kenya, Daniel Arap Moi outsmarted the Kikuyu mafia to succeed the giant Jomo Kenyatta. A strong Chikuyu lobby group led by Moi, yes, failed to change the Kenyan constitution not to allow the vice to keep the presidency for 90 days at the demise of Kenyatta. The group was known as the Change of Constitution Group, CCG. Koinange kept a vigil at Kenyatta's bed in Mombasa. However, the day he left for home is when Kenyatta died. By the time Koinange got information, Moi had already been declared a successor. Law number 3. Presidents do not cede power to people who will not protect members of the first family and what they have acquired. This is an important rule. The practice now is to target members of the retired president's family. They become punching bags of the new regime because they pose a challenge to the new leaders in the future. Secondly, persecuting them is harder than solving other national problems like the economy. Take time for new leaders. This makes persecuting old leaders more attractive and popular. In Zambia, President Sata used the anti-Chinese sentiments, but as soon as he took power, he appointed former President Kenneth Kaunda as a special envoy on Zambia. Chinese relationship. When First Lady Kataha Janet Museveni was appointed a minister in the Prime Minister's office, it was a testing exercise for the Prime Minister. It seems he did not realize it. Mbabazi's allies also did not understand it. They looked at the First Lady as an impediment for money acquisition. This has been the major problem for the Mbabazi group. They wanted mass wealth, thinking that they were too clever to be marked all because the Prime Minister was controlling the IG's office and the directorate CID as well as controlling the media. They could easily cover their footmarks. Former Premier Minister Professor Polonsibambi confided to me that the First Lady was one of the most disciplined ministers in the Prime Minister's office during his time. Secondly, they looked at the Brigadier Muhoozi and the First Lady as their biggest rivals in their quest for presidency. This explains why Robert Kabushenga's armchair opinion polls and the presidential candidates always featured the First Lady. In order to undermine the alleged presidential bid, former UNEP boss Fajil Mande was assigned to undermine and dig out Janet's academic papers. This was intended to distort them, if not to create discrepancies, by tampering with her original documents. Secondly, the CID Director Grace Akulo was directed to investigate her office and the Ministry of Karamoja to link her corruption scandals. They also openly defied her directives. There were also attempts to bribe Karamoja politicians, especially the MPs, to portray her as a failed minister. If the First Lady was targeted under her husband's government, what would then be if power went to Amama Mbabazi or any other person hostile to the first family? When Pius Bigirimana came to the First Lady's rescue, they linked him to the Kazinda scandal in order to get him out. Interestingly, the CID director tried so much to link Bigirimana to the Kazinda scandal, which fell flat, and she came out with a bruised nose as her career suffered. Rule number 4. A retiring president does not hand over power to a successor who will create his own power base within a very short time. The retired president must influence government affairs at least 5 years after his retirement. Moi kept Kenyatta's cabinet for 5 years, kept Kenyatta's currency in circulation, and declared his following Nyayo philosophy, which was Kenyatta's footsteps. However, the Mbabazi team did not obey this rule. They portrayed Mbabazi as his own man who was ready for battle against his master. In fact, the conduct of some Mbabazi's allies created a wrong impression that the government was suffering from what we called subterfuge. That there were two governments in one. Museveni cannot allow this in his government, or a co-president has mentioned in my earlier submission. In fact, Mbabazi's presidential bid was largely dependent on his loyalty to the president. The Baganda have a proverb that omuddu awulira yatabaze ngabo ya mukama we, that a loyal slave trusted by the master can go to war with the master's shield, meaning that a trusted slave or a servant can be treated like a biological son. Yes, we have examples where former loyalists have turned against their former bosses and won. However, Those depend on a very unique factors which Amama Mbabazi lacks. For example, Uhuru Kenyatta discarded the KANU leadership and formed the Jubilee and defeated Raila Odinga on card. However, Uhuru's success did not only discard the KANU tag. No, in his earlier attempt, the Chikuyu allied with other tribes like the Luo and the Kamba, who saw Uhuru as a continuation of the Moi regime. They wanted to dump Moi altogether. Remember that Vice President George Satoti Raila Odinga, who had joined the KANU as a Secretary General, hoping that Moi would hand the baton to him, and Kalonzo Musyoka, who hoped to succeed Moi, left KANU and formed the alliance against Uhuru Kenyatta. In his second bid, Uhuru was supported by William Ruto because this was the only way of avoiding the ICC court. They were two facing charges against humanity committed during the 2007 elections. Even if Uhuru was still KANU chairman, with this new political landscape, he would have won the presidency, and in order to escape going to the Hague, the ICC court had become the determining factor in the election. Therefore, Mbabazi's allies or handlers failed to realize this, that without Museveni's backing, he was a political non-entity. Museveni was his political base. This did not apply to Levi Patrick Mwanawasa of Zambia, because he had earlier parted company with Chiruba. He did not wait to be sacked. In fact, it was Chiruba who needed Mwanawasa most. Those who saw President Museveni fighting in Mbabazi battles, like when he struggled against Galuga, where he was facing imminent defeat during the NRM delegates conference, and Museveni helped him to retain the Secretary Generalship, will always sympathize with Museveni. Those two incidents turn Mbabazi into a disrespectful person, forgetful, and who cannot be trusted in future politics. Alliance are built on trust. When can Mbabazi succeed in the opposition? Here we go. Mbabazi's biggest blunder was his failure to launch his presidency bid with a bang. He wrongly believed that he would take on NRM leadership through the legal means. He thought that it was easier to remove Museveni through an NRM delegates conference. I sympathize with him for this because Dr. Besigye's walk to work crusades had failed. Dr. Besigye wrongly believed that he would remove Museveni through a revolution which flopped, leaving out one option of resorting to democratic means. Therefore, the second alternative looked attractive. In my opinion, even the option of overthrowing a government through a surgical operation has failed. Even bringing delegates will fail. In fact, many NRM people were flocking Mbabazi's home, mainly for financial assistance, but not an expression of support. Secondly, there is a strong belief within NRM that if Museveni faces a serious challenge, he will be forced to release money to his supporters. They are therefore using Amama Mbabazi for this purpose. This explains why sacking did not generate excitement. He lacks supporters. Very few opposition and Museveni's support can actually go to Mbabazi's campaign team. This explains why his bid has mainly attracted the disquieted NRM youth. We should also examine the nature of Uganda's opposition landscape. Can they accept to be led by Mbabazi? My answer is a big no. Why do I think so? The opposition in Uganda is well aware that even when they unite, they cannot defeat Museveni. Museveni defeated the Lutwa Mwanga Alliance that attracted people like Bidandi Sali, Sam Kutesa, Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogerere, Hagra World, and all the fighting groups save NRM. Remember, the DP leadership had accused the UPC led by Mwanga to have stolen their victory in 1980. Secondly, Museveni defeated the coalition political parties that fronted Dr. Besigye's presidential bid in 2021. He has been doing so ever since. Further, election results since 1996 showed that opposition disunity not their problem because it does not split their votes. That is if what is shared by the live presidential candidates is added, it is less than Museveni's vote. Also, why should they support somebody whom they accuse of being responsible for their living in NRM? Why should they surrender opposition leadership to somebody who has been enjoying in government? Why did he not resign earlier? He has been defending the government against opposition accusations. Who can now criticize them? More importantly, Mbabazi's team, headed by his wife, will be a stumbling block in forming an alliance with other opposition groups. His record is also another problem. The opposition parties and groups are using corruption and failure of service delivery by government to Ugandans. His former docket, the Prime Minister office, is the heart of the government. His name in both Chogam and Temangalo scandal, where NSSF lost billions of workers' money, are still remembered prominently. The corruption scandals rocking his former office are likely to take center stage now that he is out of office. Can he go it alone? My answer is that if he takes this option, it will be disastrous because he will lose the remaining political clout. He cannot galvanize support. He is unlikely to put up and establish a strong national network. Obviously, Museveni will cover all the gaps in the government he has been using, and it is more likely that many of his allies will abandon him now that he cannot influence government decisions. However, reconciling with the president is also unlikely. The two men would have sorted out their differences before the fall of the humor. His biggest asset has been the media. This was largely dependent on his office and political clout. He is likely to lose this one too. Foreign investors and backers are also likely to abandon him. He therefore cannot bankroll serious presidential campaign in the opposition. Nyongereyo, can he join Dr. Kizza Besigye? This is also unlikely. Now we are responding to a question that can he join Dr. Besigye? This is also unlikely judging from how Dr. Besigye and FDC has been treating bigwigs who leave NRM. For example, none of those who have joined FDC have been given influence posts. The late Elia Kategaya ended up being a special envoy for Dr. Kizza Besigye. The late Dr. Sulaiman Chigundo also did not cling the presidential party card. He ended up being a junior partner. When former Katikkiro of Buganda Joseph Mulwanya Mulise Mwogerere joined Dr. Kizza Besigye, his team became a briefcase carrier for Dr. Kizza Besigye. Obviously, Mr. Semwogerere had more political clout than Besigye. Can Amama Mbabazi play that role? The message is clear. Dr. Besigye will always remain in the driving seat. Others can play peripheral roles. What can Mbabazi do in the near future? Mbabazi knows that being Secretary General of the NRM is traditional. He will be kicked out. Worse still, the people's reaction in the aftermath of his sacking has unmasked him. It was not seen as a serious political event. In fact, even newspaper sales remain very low. Finally, Dr. Besigye is still a man to reckon within the opposition as a strong opposition leader. This is because he won the confidence of the internal and foreign donors. Trust for the financiers takes time also. It seems Dr. Besigye learned from the mistakes of the former opposition leaders. When Nasa Sebagala joined the NRM, his supporters deserted him en masse. The slogan, Ajala Gidde died and was buried. When Major General Mugisha Muntu became FDC leader, he did not overshadow Kizza Besigye. In fact, many people do not know whether he is still politically active or not. This explains how strong Dr. Besigye is in the opposition.
Nakawandikadde
2014
ebyaddira byawukana n'ebyo ebyaddira byawukana n'ebyo
byawukana ndowooza walyogera ku preparation ya 2016 election
naye byawukana n'ebyo
ate byawukana mbabazi
so when I tell you
mpoze ekyenjawulo Tamale
bwe nkugamba ekigambo nembagamba nti
Mbabazi went back to
kutampalinga na masiga
Mbabazi went back to President
Museveni atajjali teyajja muleke kutampalinga na masiga bwe nali mpandika akatabo kange again at Crossroads nabaga ntufunye omukisa emyaka 75 bagijeewo. This will stop us from engaging in our campaigns. The NRM can be torn apart. The government can be torn apart. In his last 4 years, 5 years, Uhuru has not delivered. Takoze alwana n'abantu kuba powers already shifted. Abantu kati bakyamulaba wo ne bwabagola tebakyamwanukula n'abakikuyube baganye bw'obudde bwo bukoze eki kasatu n'atandika entalo z'obusika eggwanga lifudde. I'm telling you kasita mugenda mu lumbo oba ku mbaga ne mugabula ogenda okulanga abantu bagenda nabaganda nze njogera nnyo ku mikolo naye kasita bagabula soda nga tonnayogera oba emmere finished gundi teddamu oba onywedde soda oba tonywedde people want. Stop engaging in other campaigns. It does not pay the country.
Tamale, do you want to mean nti bino byonna ebikolebwa tuli mu campaigns kati bantu banoonya busika banoonya presidents
waliwo babbalamu bo baagala okuteeka muhoozi mu project nti bali sente. Me, I don't believe in this. It is still very early.
Anene muhoozi tavuddeyo okutugamba nti nedda I'm not part.
Yetasobola gamba what can they do nti nze n'emirimu gyange but you don't deny. Toga nsaagala. No, it's a provocation.
Kitegeze ekirowoozo okirina.
It's not time, yes. I tell you, yes. If you ask me today, Mirundi, do you have ambitions of the presidency? Why not? Yeah, why not? Why do you ask me? Why do you ask me?
Because
nobody is tall enough to see the future. Nobody. It's only in America where they ask the vice president where is he interested in the presidency. But once the money attends the government money omuntu ow'amaanyi abasinza amaanyi aina media ali established atakola silent banner kyovula bankuba nnyo nze ankuba nnyo era akukosomye nze nali maze okutegeera tibagala kuwamba UNEB batampalinga academic papers za first lady
Fajiro Mande kyekyamuleeta
bali bakiwambye musajja nga bamuyita Ntagale naye omukoyi agamba Nazala we nti namuvumi nze abayambi n'ababuulira nembabuulira ne bagamba nti nze intelligence yange egamba bwendi nti they are trying to undermine kubanga Kabusenga yakubanga opinion polls ngalaga Kadaga ali mu 45 first lady ali mu 50 Muhoozi ali mu ki nga Mbabazi strategy aliko Museveni akube bano yasigalewo era bakuba katuni mu New Vision nga Mbabazi akutte ku ttaba bwali kisanga atakite nga yali ku 3%. Naye omukoya kandi navuma Nazala we ate fe Abaganda mwemba navuma first lady ate ndiddayo omuganda ganti ate gye akamba olyayo empaate if you steal a knife in your home they expect to eat period bananas. If you abuse the first lady, we don't want to be stupidity to go back to State House. That's why I've avoided State House for the last 8 years.
Tamale, ekiseera ekya succession debate kituukaddi. President ya celebrating ze myaka 77.
Ne bwa celebrating nga 8.
Tukkiriza nti gino gye myaka twalibadde ne debate efaanana ekikabu ekiti.
Once the president allows
okuteekateeka eggwanga lino obutafuna bizibu byavaamu.
Muyinti Kiryata yafuga eggwanga nga wa myaka 77 bo bagamba 75. But Africans we hide some, especially if you worked for the civil service. Naye baali tetteeka mu Kenya speculating on Kenyatta's life was treasonable. Ndi mukadde yagenda Mombasa nabaga nti wantu wa Mombasa mnasema muliko nyuma yangu, mnafanya nini nyuma yangu, muko wasiasi. Nagamba nti mnasema mimi mgonjwa, Kenyatta mgonjwa, Kenyatta mzee. Uliza mama Ngina iko wapi? Timwe mugandi musajja mukadde mwite mukazi wange mwite ku mukazi wange
ababulire nti amanyi gakyali kyenda katonyeze munana.
The moment you allow all campaigns, the movement will be torn apart, the government will be torn apart, the military will be torn apart, parliament will be torn apart, and society will be torn apart. Let us concentrate on the 4 years until Museveni decides. It is never too late. But once you engage, nzatemba nyimu abantu aba nembabazi abasinga kambabuliremu. You think Mbabazi is quiet? Mulazo Mbabazi is quiet. Mbabazi sayinza kubona gundi. Sayinza kubona gundi. Bwe bawamba Mugabe. Ani ono Munangago wamajene Munangago. Mbabazi sayinza kuba Munangago. Ndi you see, ndi abalwana mu nsiko. Basi sebebasa. Mutuleke tukole emirimu, mutuleke tukole.
Fula Tamale Mirundi njagala kwebaza.
Abajifuna project waliwo n'oyo alowooza nti siwagira project ye ankuba ku makya n'olweggulu n'alemesa sente zange n'akola
project ye gyoyogerako gyotayagala kugamba abantu na bannayuganda.
Bantya nnyo. For me, I know when to make decisions.
Kyenda katonyeze munana. Katugende mawulire.
Nzababimba mwenye abagala sente. Tiyo project baba we sente simanyi bagenze Masaka simanyi bali rudda wa balimbale bali rudda wakati bakola kino. If the president allows another successful battle, he will be the biggest loser.